of the proposed rules that are included in your resolutions and amendment book. The first sentence of Rule 21 currently states appeals will be heard on the Friday of the convention. The motion is to amend that rule to create an exception to that for any appeals that may be heard of decisions of the Executive Council. So the amendment would amend the rule to hear any of those decisions of the Executive Council that were appeals of decisions of the Executive Council on Tuesday. Other appeals, as the rule currently states, would remain on Friday. So we're voting on whether to amend the rule. All those in favor of the motion to amend Rule 21, please stand and remain standing until the teller passes and gives you the indication to be seated.
Sit, thank you. I don't know how to use a clicker, that's why. Brian, you should just reiterate, after you count that you must sit when they tell you to sit, please? Or do you want me to do it? Yeah.
After your teller has given you the indication to be seated, please do indeed be seated.
Thank you.
That would, in essence, extend the date. They can't change a constitution with a motion. Exactly. And that's going to have to back everything up.
Okay, brothers and sisters that are seated in section 13, Eric, raise your hand. You see Eric in the white shirt with his hand up. Those of you that are in section 13, that's near microphone number 5. Section 13, we're going to ask you to vote again for a quick count as opposed to making everyone in the room stand up again. So only for those in section 13, if you are in favor of the motion to amend Rule 21 to hear any appeals of Executive Council decisions on Tuesday, please stand. He's showing them.
How do they know where section 13 starts and ends?
They can see the.
You're cool, my friend. I could just see what happens. No, it's just that one. That's why I said just that one section of the problem. She didn't realize it. So two people. Let's do it that way and get it done and see what happens.
I'm supposed to let people interrupt the vote, but I don't know if it's regarding this either.
Okay, before I recognize microphone number 9, under the rules, while this is ongoing, normally I would not recognize any microphone, even under privilege. Since we don't have any rules yet, microphone number 9, I'm going to recognize you under privilege, but only if what you are bringing pertains to very narrowly what we are doing right now with the Board of Tellers counting the convention.
It's directly
vote
for
on
it.
this. Ma'am?
If you think there is a miscount, then everybody should be recounted.
Sister, I'd agree with you. That did not have to be offered in the form of a motion. Thank you, Jennifer. So we don't have any issues. To be fair to our tellers, we had them go out there and count before they were even really tellers. At least officially. So what happened there is we had one section that we believe was either counted twice or not at all. Attempting to recount another section is very difficult because it's hard for each of you individually in your particular seating location to know if I say section blah, 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 nobody in this room knows what section you're in, right? So here's what we're going to do. Sergeant at Arms, please keep those that are outside the hall, doors locked for now. Everyone please be seated. I'm going to restate the motion so we are clear. Everyone please be seated. The motion before the body is a motion to amend Rule 21 of the rules as proposed. They are found at the beginning of your resolutions and amendment book. Rule 21 currently states that appeals will be heard on Friday. The motion is to amend Rule 21 to create an exception to that to hear appeals, any appeals of Executive Council decisions on Tuesday. All other appeals would remain on Friday pursuant to the rule as written. So what we are voting on is a motion to amend it to hear any appeals of Executive Council decisions on Tuesday. Okay. All those in favor of the motion to amend Rule 21, please stand. Please remain standing until your teller gives you the indication to be seated. Once you have received that indication, please do indeed be seated. Right. Everyone, please be seated if you are not. Thank you. All those opposed to the motion to amend Rule 21, which is to hear any appeals of an executive council decision on Tuesday rather than Friday, please stand. All those opposed. Please remain standing until your teller gives you the indication to be seated. Once you receive such indication, please be seated. Okay. Once again, the motion was a motion to amend Rule 21 to create an exception for the timing on when appeals would be heard. Current rule is appeals would be heard on Friday. The motion was to create an exception to that any appeals of decisions of the Executive Council would be heard on Tuesday. The total or the yeas are 1,703. The nays are 1,534. So the motion to amend the rules is adopted. As we were, a couple of things that need to be mentioned here for the delegates' knowledge. Currently, there are no appeals pending of any Executive Council decisions. Brother Rivera, as he mentioned, I'm sure at some point during the convention here today, or someone else could certainly make a motion for the convention to consider whether or not they wanted to hear an appeal of a council ruling. But as of now, we do not have any. Another logistical piece of this, the rule will, of course, change. However, Article 21, Section 1A of the Constitution requires that constitutional amendments that are submitted shall be the first order of business on the second day of the convention, which is Tuesday, and no other business will be conducted until we conclude the process of considering constitutional amendments. Now, there's a couple of keys that I just want to point out here. That is business. In other words, something at the microphone, the delegate's consideration of a motion. It certainly does not mean that there couldn't be a video or some other type of break. We have 41 constitutional amendments. Those of you that have been coming to conventions for quite a while will know that that is about 5 times the normal number. So it is reasonable for us to expect that this is going to take a significant amount of the day tomorrow. In the event we do not finish all of the amendments tomorrow, we would resume that amendment process on Wednesday morning, pursuant to Article 21 of the Constitution. So, should there be an appeal of the Executive Council that would need to be heard, pursuant to this rule, that appeal would be heard on Tuesday. However, the Constitution states that this is an order of business that happens on the second day of the convention. What we would then do is follow the Constitution first, of course, and at the conclusion of the process of amendments, we would then move to any appeal that may be any appeal of an Executive Council decision. I explained this to Brother Rivera when he was up here for the division earlier, that if this did pass, that would be the process. So I want everyone to be aware of that. We have a speaker who we are already have kept her waiting much longer than she intended to be here, but she's an important speaker. So let's do this. We have an amended Rule 21. The sister came to microphone number 6, I believe it was earlier, wishing to make a motion to, I guess, forego the reading and adopt the rules. So at this point, I would entertain such a motion. Microphone number 6 under privilege.
I would just like, Renee Eberhardt, Branch 1681, Casper, Wyoming. I'd like to second that motion.
Sister, would you be willing to make the motion?
Oh, yes. I make the motion that we accept the minutes and the amendment and call for the question. Rules and resolutions.
Sister Renee, accept the rules.
And yes.
Okay. Sister Eberhard has moved that the convention accept the rules as written, which of course would include the amendment that was just passed. Is there a second? If you are not up at the mic to second that motion. Microphone number 3 under privilege. Oh, you can open the doors. I don't see any doors. Sergeant at Arms, you can open the doors now. Microphone number 3 under privilege.
I'm not here to second. I'm Lewis Phillips.
Okay, brother. It would only be appropriate for somebody to rise to second the motion at this particular point in time. You're certainly free to stay there unless someone comes up that would like to second the motion. To second the motion, microphone number 2 under privilege.
Kenny Montgomery, Branch 210, Rochester, New York. I second the motion.
Thank you, brother. Would anyone like to speak for or against the motion? Microphone number 1, do you rise to speak for or against the motion?
No,
please.
mine's an entirely different matter.
Okay,
so.
please turn the light off for now, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hang on for a little bit.
Microphone number 3, you rise to speak against the motion?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, brother.
My name is Lewis Phillips. I'm Executive Vice President of Branch 358, and we represent Northeast New York. I'm against the motion because I disagree with the way the votes were tallied. 1,703 votes for that motion and 1,534 against. That violates rule number 3, which says none of these rules shall be altered or amended except by a 2/3 affirmative vote of the members present and voting, and such motions shall be treated as the pending questions.
Thank you, brother. Brother, the convention has not yet adopted those rules as written. Therefore, we must default to Robert's Rules of Order, which only requires a majority vote. Should the rules have already been adopted and someone then at a later point came and made a motion to amend the rule, it would indeed, pursuant to that rule, require a 2/3 vote. Thank you, brother. Anyone else like to speak for the motion? Microphone number 6.
Hey, how you doing? Branch 421, Sergio Dovalina. I'm for this motion. This motion is not about convenience. It's about guarding the rights of the membership. We have seen repeated attempts by the Executive Council to introduce actions at moments when attendance is diminished, creating conditions that undermine the will of the body. Passing this motion prevents such maneuvering and ensures that every member who values integrity, accountability, and constitutional fidelity has the opportunity to participate in decisions that affect us all. Supporting this motion affirms a simple principle. Major decisions must be made when the body is present, not when attendance is strategically weakened. Thank you.
Brother, I think you might be one motion behind, so I won't consider that as speaking for the motion to adopt the rules. So therefore, is there anyone that'd like to speak for the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to microphone number 9 to speak against the motion.
The reason I'm against the motion, Jennifer Braden, Branch 3331, Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. We have no tellers that are certified. Therefore, it should be considered inaccurate. This thing's it's echoing.
Sister, I'm not 100% sure where to go with that. I think you expressed some concern about the tellers.
They're not been certified.
Thank you, sister. Microphone number 4 under privilege.
Lang Vu, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Pioneer Branch 2. I call the question.
Okay. All those in favor of proceeding to the question signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. We will proceed to the question. The motion before the convention is a motion to adopt the rules as written inclusive of the amendment to Rule 21 adopted by the convention a few minutes ago. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, no. Okay, the ayes have it. The motion passes. The rules have been adopted. Thank you. Okay, I know there were a few of you that have come to mics for different reasons. Again, we will get to you, but we do have a couple of speakers and one that I think you're going to be very interested in hearing from. We are very fortunate to be joined by not just a dear friend to letter carriers, but the leader of America's labor movement. Liz Shuler is the president of the AFL-CIO, which brings together national and international unions representing more than 15 million workers. As I talked about in my very brief speech this morning, the last 2 years have been tumultuous. They've been tumultuous really across the labor movement, and we really highlighted the difficulties for those labor unions that represent federal workers. And Sister Shuler has been on the front lines leading that fight, just like those unions. She has led the Federation and the labor movement in America with a spirit of solidarity and union power. And when I think of my dear friend and Sister Shuler, that's what I think of is union power. A true unifier, a true leader, and someone that we as workers in this country are very, very fortunate to have leading our movement. So I ask you to please join me in offering a warm NALC welcome to my sister and yours, the president of the AFL-CIO, Sister Liz Shuler.
Well, hello and good afternoon, NALC. Do you believe in unity? You believe in solidarity? That's what I thought. Oh my gosh, we have some worker power in here today. I love looking across this room, 5,000 letter carriers from across the country in one room. It's every dog's worst nightmare. Little letter carrier humor. But it is a beautiful sight, and I just am so proud to be here with you today. There is something so, so powerful about looking across a room like this, because every one of you represents a zip code, a route, a neighborhood that you are deeply a part of. There is not a single community in this country that you do not touch. You deliver medications to our seniors, and paychecks, and birthday cards, and care packages, and passports. The little moments that remind us that we are connected to one another. And in having those conversations with people on their front porches and showing up in the toughest moments, delivering for people day in and day out, you all have built the single most valuable thing in the world, which is trust. You have trust. That's right. And it's in short supply these days. And we know that in these past few years especially, that trust has not been returned to us, has it? Relentless attempts to privatize the USPS, to chip away at our retirement security, to undermine the services that our communities count on, so those at the top can get a little bit richer. And that's the story of this entire economy, isn't it? CEOs making $96 million a year? That's an average. While the people who teach our kids and care for our veterans and deliver the mail are told to tighten our belts. We have an administration that found billions in tax cuts for Jeff Bezos. Yeah. And then turns around and says, oh, we need to gut our postal service and gut Medicare and Medicaid. We have an economy that just gave us our first trillionaire with a T, while working families can't afford gas and groceries. Does that make sense to anyone in this room? No. It's time to build an economy that works for people who actually work for a living. Why would we have an economy that does anything else but that? Right? Well, how do we get there? And it starts with the solidarity this union has shown these past few years especially. And I want to thank your amazing president, Brian Renfro. Thank you, Brian, for your leadership at our big table at the AFL-CIO, for your friendship, for your partnership. And to all of your officers, to the board of trustees, to your branch leaders, and every steward and every activist and letter carrier in this room who have shown that fight every single day. Thank you. That's right, standing up and fighting not just for yourselves, but for every federal worker in this country. When they came after our collective bargaining rights, right? You were there. Because you know an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. And when we show that solidarity, when we go out and we do our essential jobs every single day, that's how we build the trust that I spoke about just a minute ago. I'm here talking to the workers behind the most trusted federal agency in this country. And our labor movement is fighting there right alongside you. And in this moment of skepticism and polarization in this country, you know what I'm talking about, right? When every other institution is underwater in terms of trust and support, we, the labor movement, are the one thing bringing people together. Have you heard this? 71% of Americans say they support unions. 71%. And get this, 9 in 10 workers under the age of 30 support unions. That's incredible. So we have the trust. We have the power. The question now is, how are we going to use it? The first thing we need to do is organize, organize, organize. That's right. Now, 4 years ago, we as a labor movement challenged ourselves to organize at least 1 million new workers over the next decade. Well, we didn't do it in 10 years. We didn't even need 5 years. We did it in 3 years. And we did it because unions like this one refused to stop organizing, right? 93% voluntary membership, which is one of the best organized unions in the entire country. Raise your right hand and put it over your left shoulder and pat yourselves on the back. Now, I told you we hit our goal from the last convention in just a few years. Well, guess what? We just had our 2026 convention in Minneapolis a few weeks ago, and we decided we're going to double down on that goal in half the time. We're going to organize 2 million more workers in the next 5 years. Are you with me? Can we do it together? And that's a floor, not a ceiling, folks. But we also know that organizing in the workplace won't be successful if it isn't paired with political organizing. Because the rules matter. Who writes them matters. Who enforces them matters. And that's why these midterm elections matter. Now I know, yeah, you can clap for that, but I know a lot of people get uncomfortable when we start talking politics. But here's the thing. Politics is already making decisions about us every single day. And it's whether we can organize freely. It's whether our collective bargaining rights even exist. Whether we can pass the legislation that keeps our carriers safe on the job and guarantees our retirements. You care about that? That's what I thought. And nobody knows better than the people in this room what they're trying to do to our elections. Attacking mail-in ballots and the integrity of our workers, closing polling sites, purging voter rolls, disenfranchising workers of color. The most powerful people in this country know that if working people vote together, we win, right? That's why they're so afraid. Because we've seen what happens when we mobilize and we get pro-worker candidates into office, including our own, by the way, running for elective office. So right now is the time to double down on that work. Think about the last midterms, 4 years ago, right? 14 million union members and their families voted. 14 million in a midterm year. You remember where control of our country came down to a few thousand votes in House races all across the country. So this year, we're gonna aim even higher. We want 16 million union voters and their families to turn out in this election, the most ambitious turnout effort our movement has ever undertaken. What do you think of that? Can we do it? Yeah. And in this moment where our rights are under attack, when the most powerful people in this country want to scare us away from the polls, we're going to put 50,000 trained election protectors to work as well, staffing voter protection hotlines and being on hand at the precincts when shenanigans might be happening or when ICE might show up to intimidate people. We want to make sure that every voice is heard in this election, because billionaires can buy their private jets, they can buy their rocket ships, but they cannot buy our democracy, and we are not going to let them try. Now, if we're serious about building an economy that works for working people, then there's one more thing we need to talk about, which is that workers have to help shape the future of work itself. Route optimization, automated sorting, artificial intelligence. Raise your hand if you've heard some of these terms thrown around. I think everybody has, right? These aren't some far-off things. They're here. And I'll tell you, we in the labor movement, we're not anti-technology, we're not anti-innovation. What we are is anti-greed. We're anti-greed. We're against these forces being used without our input or our consent, putting our jobs and lives at risk. Well, there is a better way forward, and Brian mentioned it earlier. It's where we come together with labor and business and elected officials and industry experts, academics, everyone, and we put the guardrails in place on AI, and we make it work for working people, right? And sure, there's a role for technology to make our jobs safer, maybe reduce injuries, improve service for the American people. Okay, but no algorithm knows a community the way a letter carrier does. And no computer knows which customer needs a little extra time to get to the door. No software understands the relationships that you have built over decades with a family. There's a human element that can never be replaced. And it's our job to make sure that, as this union already is, that we have a seat at the table to shape that future. The AFL-CIO launched what we call our Workers First AI agenda last fall. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on our website, aflcio.org. But what we said was, no, you can't surveil us. No, you can't implement these technologies on our job sites without our input. Here are our demands. We want a seat at the table. We want training and upskilling for our workers. We want our civil rights protected and our basic right to organize protected. How does that sound? Yeah? And for all of those candidates who are already starting to run for president in 2028, if you want to hold the highest office in the land, hear these words. Working people need to come first, not some bullshit algorithm. So when those candidates show up in New Hampshire and South Carolina and Iowa or here in California, you name it, we're going to be there. And you are going to have to answer to workers on AI. This is our litmus test right here. And I don't care if you're Donald Trump or Gavin Newsom. You're either with working people or you're with the big tech billionaires. Show us which side you're on. And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, because I know technology is everywhere, you can make a difference. You can actually, when you leave this convention, go to our website, download that Workers First agenda, read it, pass it along to your friends and your coworkers. And when you meet with your members of Congress or your state legislators, make sure you talk about how AI and technology is impacting your work and the need to put workers first in this AI future. Look, this is the single most important moment for our economy in 100 years. We know that the most powerful people in this country, we know what they want, don't we? They want us divided. They want the workers in the Postal Service blaming manufacturing workers. They want young workers blaming older workers. Private sector workers blaming public sector workers. Right? They want us divided. But as they try to turn us against each other, I have never seen working people in this country more united, organizing together, winning together. That's right. The billionaires have their money, corporations have their lobbyists, but we have each other. Never forget that. And I think we're going to look back 20 years from now on this moment. You're going to remember this. You're going to be asking yourself, did we answer the call? Did we do the hard things that we needed to do? Did we innovate the way this union has shown we can? Did we push ourselves as much as we could? Because we are the only institution, the only movement that has the power to answer every challenge this country is facing right now. Because we bring people together across party lines. We check corporate power. We defend our democracy. We give people hope. And we go out and we get shit done. That's right. Think about it. Everything we've won as working people in this country, we've won because we fought for it, because we knew it was worth it for ourselves and for every generation after us. So, NALC, are you ready for that fight? Are you ready to get it done? That's what I thought. Thank you. Let's go.
Great job. Awesome. Well done. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hang on, we got something for you.
Nice. Thank you.
So what a way to kick it off with our first guest speaker. You remember how to do a letter carrier cheer?
Oh, yeah.
All right, how about a letter carrier cheer for our sister Liz Schuler? Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Pursuant to Article 5, Section 6 of the Constitution, the chair of the convention, I have appointed an election commissioner and chair of the board of tellers, which will serve as a committee to conduct votes taken over the course of this convention. So this is what happens this week. This is different from the election committee on the election of national officers. So it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce from Branch 562 in Jamaica, New York, the election commissioner and chairman of the board of tellers, the world famous Brother Andrew Weiner.
Good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to read off the names of the tellers which you have already met. First off, Kim Birch, Branch 509. James Brown, Branch 4. Charles Bundy, Branch 11. Clinton Cole, Branch 38. John Collins, Branch 63. Michael Shane Davis, Branch 1131. Keith Deason, Branch 1227. DeMarcus Dial, Branch 493. Corey Grote, Branch 728. Mike Hazermith, Branch 46. Allison Harp, Branch 4319. Michael Hagelin, Branch 38. Sarah Hockley, Branch 155. This is an easy name. Keith Hooks, Branch 142. Jimmy Hunter, Branch 3126. Star Jester, Branch 1100. Jason Jones, Branch 459. Charles Johnsher, Branch 499. Kristen Kasperaski, Branch 232. Tam Kelly, Branch 100. Charles Kennard, Branch 36. Yvette, you know him. Eric Lomax, Branch 562. Guillermo McPherson, Branch 181. Maria Montano, Branch 504. Karen Nance, Branch 142. Christian Ramirez, Branch 6156. Kelly Robles, Branch 5996. Pat Rothball, Branch 84. Jason McCoy, I don't know which branch, I'm sorry, he was a latecomer. Percy Smith, Branch 4559. Barbara Stickler, Branch 1100. Jim Figman, Branch 53. Richard Thurman, Branch 343. Ed Walsh, Branch 358. And Dan Wheeler, Branch 25. Those are your delegates, which I already know you've seen them. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of them. All right, now I have to explain something to you. AFL-CIO elections will be held this week. On this, it's supposed to say good morning, brothers and sisters, but it's good afternoon, brothers and sisters. On Thursday, we will hold an election for 7 positions to serve as delegates to the AFL-CIO convention. The rules we adopted for this convention spell out the election process in Rules 19 and 20 of your resolution book. Rule 19. We will take nominations from the floor on Wednesday from accredited delegates. There will be no seconds or acceptance speeches. Once the nomination process is closed by the chair, it cannot be reopened except for suspension of Rule 19. Nominees must complete the official nomination acceptance form provided by the National Secretary, Sister Nicole Ryan, before the close of business on the third day of the convention, which is Wednesday. If a nominee is absent for any reason, the nominator must provide written evidence of acceptance. If timely acceptance is not provided, the nominee will not appear on the ballot. Once the nomination process is over, the Secretary-Treasurer will announce the time and place of a lottery to determine the order of names listed on the ballot. Rule 20, by Thursday, ballots must be prepared with the candidates listed in order as determined by the lottery. Voters will indicate their preference by marking an X next to the 7 candidates for whom they wish to vote. All delegates voting must present their stamped credentials to the Board of Tellers when they receive a ballot. If it's not, no ticket, no vote. That's what it breaks down to. Delegates must cast their votes either individually or by unit rule as dictated by Article 14, Section 4 of the National Constitution. Branches that are not voting as a complete unit shall no later by the close of business today so advise the election commissioner, that's me, and the office of the Secretary-Treasurer at the desk to the right of the stage. Such branches should be prepared to advise the stage desk exactly how your branch wishes to vote, entirely or as individuals, or under the so-called partial unit rule. Those branches voting under a partial unit rule must tell us the exact number of delegates who will be voting individually as the number who will be voting as a unit. The 7 delegates with the most votes will be the elected delegates. Thank you.
Excellent job. You're all world famous, too, in Italy.
Thank you, Brother Weiner. I'd now like to call up Sister Ryan for a few more announcements.
During the week of the convention, special NALC bulletins highlighting convention activities will be sent to the regular bulletin mailing list. The Daily Convention Chronicle will be available for pickup by those interested at approximately 9 a.m. on the mornings of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at the distribution center located in the exhibit area in the convention center. On Friday, they may be picked up at about 7 a.m. They will also be available online at nalc.org/convention. The official timekeeper for the convention will be former NALC Executive Vice President Gary Mullins from T.T. Morris, Branch 1227 in Wichita Falls, Texas. The parliamentarian of this convention is Maurice Henderson. The chairman of the Sergeant of Arms for this convention is Charles Scott. Delegates wishing to address the convention will be required to clearly identify themselves by name, branch, and city prior to speaking. The convention court reporters have no way of knowing a delegate at the microphone unless you furnish a clear identity. Thank you.
Every day, millions of Americans rely on the steady hands and determination of the United States Postal Service. Behind every letter and package stands a union letter carrier whose working life has been shaped by the NALC and the power of collective bargaining.
It didn't really begin as a formally, legally organized union until 1889. And that's when a small group of unions from all over the country decided to band together and create a national organization. And they did it mainly because they wanted to lobby Congress on behalf of their workplace interests.
In 1889, postal workers formed the National Association of Letter Carriers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They founded our union to ensure postal workers would get a voice where none existed and to fight together for basic standards, like an 8-hour workday.
Really, really tough job. It was a job where you expected to work 7 days a week. You had no days off. You had no limits on hours. Your pay was really at the mercy of the local postmaster. There was no national law. The federal government didn't put any conditions or standards in place. And the NALC led that fight even before they were a national union in the 1880s, lobbying state and local leaders all over the country to try to push Congress to pass an 8-hour workday, which was passed in 1888. Unfortunately, when the union was first organized in 1889, the Post Office Department refused to comply with the law. And eventually in 1893, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the NALC to get an 8-hour day. So that was a huge impetus to growth for the union. Like, people saw that the union could deliver for them. And so it was off to the races after that.
Year after year, the NALC appealed to Congress to raise postal pay, but their immense efforts delivered limited results. The real solution was collective bargaining rights. The NALC's lobbying campaign to win the right to bargain began in earnest in the 1950s, but it would take another 20 years with a wildcat strike to finally make it happen.
The NALC did not win true collective bargaining rights until 1970. So up to that point, you know, they really were just a lobbying organization. The NALC often refers to it as a period of collective begging. They would lobby Congress, their local members of the House of Representatives and Senators to improve pay.
To all Americans, I say that the next 4 years are going to be difficult and challenging years for us all.
In 1962, President Kennedy signed an executive order giving postal workers the right to organize and requiring the Post Office Department to formally recognize the NALC and the other postal unions. But it stopped short of granting real bargaining power.
And they actually did get a very first contract in 1962. It was like 25 pages long on lots of important things. But the big thing was that under that executive order, there was no right to bargain over wages or benefits. So the meat and potatoes of a job was really not subject to the decision-making of individual agencies. That was all left to Congress. And so the collective begging, you know, continued, but it was an important first step.
By 1970, letter carriers had reached their breaking point. Pay wasn't keeping up with inflation. Working conditions had barely improved. The Post Office Department was struggling, and employee morale had hit rock bottom.
Congress passed a giant pay increase for itself. They raised their own pay by 42%, and the rest of the federal government got 4% at a time of very high inflation. And so that just infuriated workers all over the country, and that was the spark. And so in March of 1970, the biggest branch in the union at the time, Branch 36 in New York, held a meeting, and they basically declared a wildcat strike. That just sparked, you know, copycat strikes all over the country.
For the first time ever, letter carriers went on strike, and mail service in and out of New York was suspended.
The letter carriers are still carrying no letters. Their strike is illegal, but there is not much the government can do about it.
But this is the only means we have of letting Congress know that we cannot take it any longer. Either they give us what we should have, or we will stay on strike until hell freezes over.
When the mail stopped moving, it struck at the heart of the American economy. Bills, bank transactions, and even the stock market depended on the postal system. Under mounting pressure, the government reached a resolution: end the strike, transform the post office, and grant postal workers full collective bargaining rights for the very first time. The Postal Reorganization Act gave letter carriers the right to bargain over pay. It also created something most private sector unions don't have: a guaranteed process for resolving disputes without going on strike.
The law requires interest arbitration if the parties cannot reach agreement after a contract has expired. The law also prohibits employees from striking. They are subject to the general ban on strikes by federal employees, since the Postal Service is part of the federal government. Interest arbitration is supposed to be the quid pro quo for not having the right to strike. It's supposed to result in a process that settles contracts in a way that reflects how contracts would be settled if employees did have the right to strike and there was true arm's length bargaining. Each party selects a party arbitrator, a representative, to sit on the arbitration board, and the parties have an opportunity to select a neutral chairman.
It's quite unique to us. There's not anything quite like it anywhere, the interest arbitration process that we have. Having binding arbitration really gives you a backup and a way to make your case, and NALC takes full advantage of that.
The story of the NALC's collective bargaining history is one of steady progress, spanning nearly 6 decades. Along the way, the NALC confronted a series of increasingly difficult challenges posed by changing technology, hostile management initiatives involving automation and subcontracting, and adverse economic conditions. Throughout the 1970s, the NALC bargained alongside other postal unions. The priority was clear: win and protect cost of living adjustments in union contracts so wages could keep pace with inflation.
So the cost of living adjustment provision of our contract is vitally important. It's been really important for our union right from day one. Our very first contract had a cost of living clause in it. And we fought like hell ever since to keep it and to improve it. And so most union contracts had COLA clauses back then. Over the time, COLA clauses went out of fashion when inflation went down. A lot of unions gave them up, either voluntarily or through pressure from their employers. The NALC has really been, we've been steadfast in making sure that we hold on to the COLA, and it really paid off for us over the entire history of our bargaining, but especially in recent years. Every 6 months the CPI comes out and it triggers a COLA increase. So some unions have only 25% protection. Other unions like UPS and the Teamsters, they have a COLA provision that only kicks in if inflation exceeds 3%. So most of the time they don't get a COLA because inflation generally for the last 20 or 30 years, except for a couple years after the pandemic, has been below 3%. So that whole time we've been getting steady increases.
In 1978, the NALC rejected a tentative agreement that would have capped cost of living adjustments, limiting wage increases even as inflation continued to rise. The dispute moved through an expedited mediation arbitration process where the cap was removed, preserving uncapped COLA protection and securing one of the NALC's most significant bargaining victories.
In 1984, there was no possibility whatsoever of a voluntary agreement. The Postal Service was totally dug in and wanted all sorts of cutbacks in letter carrier compensation. The law requires, it has a standard of comparability. The Postal Service is supposed to pay its employees on a standard of comparable pay for comparable work in the private sector. Usually what that meant, at least traditionally, in conventional interest arbitrations, is that you'd find employers who were similar to your employer in the same sector and look at what they were paying their employees. What the Postal Service economists did was completely different. They used Census Bureau data to look at the entire population in the private sector and compare it to the Postal Service. So we had to retain our own team of economists and master this technique ourselves, which is something that we, for the most part, didn't know anything about, and developed an argument that proved very effective. Bottom line is, ultimately, the arbitrator did not adopt this technique for analyzing Postal Service wages. The result was an award which awarded significant pay increases, preserved the COLA, but it did create some lower pay steps in the pay schedule, as well as some higher steps in the pay schedule, mainly for the APWU crafts, although it did impact the letter carriers as well.
In 1994, the NALC began bargaining independently from the other postal unions, seeking higher pay as DPS automation dramatically changed the work of city letter carriers. The NALC raised the issue of how automation had increased carrier productivity and thus changed the nature of the job in a landmark interest arbitration covering the 1998 to 2001 contract.
Letter carriers had been tied to the same pay as postal clerks for over 100 years. And we were arguing that the pattern had to be broken, mainly because of the impact of technology on letter carrier work, which had significantly changed the nature of the work. Postal Service was fiercely resisting breaking that linkage. And so the parties ultimately agreed to a baseball-style last best offer process, and the arbitrator picked our offer. And that's how letter carriers got upgraded in 1999, because we had a better case than the Postal Service.
In the first decade of the new century, the NALC successfully pushed back against a major effort by postal management to subcontract all new deliveries to low-wage, non-union workers.
Our relationship with postal management really goes up and down. You know, we've had good periods where we're making progress through, and we're working, you know, really well together to sort of solve problems. Other times we've had huge fights. We had a huge fight in the mid 2000s about contracting out. Board of Governors of the Postal Service made a decision that all new delivery would go to contract workers, low-wage, non-union workers, and the NALC did a tremendous job fighting that off. We had a national campaign, both legislatively and at the collective bargaining table, to fight that. And eventually in 2006, we got an agreement that forced the Postal Service to disband their contract delivery service.
NALC is 100% committed to fight to protect the job security and standard of living of letter carriers, no matter what economic conditions we face.
The NALC has bargained through one of the most challenging periods in Postal Service history. Devastating recessions, the explosive growth of e-commerce, and a historic pandemic. As letter mail volume declined and package deliveries surged, our union continues negotiating through an extended period of economic uncertainty.
I refer to really the period since 2010 as the period of crisis bargaining. We could not get a voluntary agreement back in 2012. We went to arbitration. And in that interest arbitration, we took some serious hits. The Postal Service was in real financial trouble. And it was that arbitration really created a large non-career workforce, the CCA workforce that we have today. It was a pay freeze for a couple of years. Since that time, the condition of the Postal Service has improved somewhat. It's still a huge challenge. We've been clawing back a lot of aspects of difficult provisions that came out of that contract. So little by little, the last few contracts, we've reestablished the traditional pattern of having one general increase and 2 COLAs a year. We've reduced the size of the CCA workforce. We've made progress in raising starting pay of carriers. Over the last two contracts, we've made progress in raising the top pay over the last 2 contracts. Back in 2013, other postal unions really adopted 2-tier wage systems that lowered the top pay. We did not do that. We fought like hell to keep having a single endpoint to our pay structures. That's the pay rate that people spend most of their career at. So the goal was to maximize career earnings and maximize retirement benefits, which is really important. That top pay, step P pay, is really what determines your future retirement income. We've done 16 rounds of bargaining over 55 years, and I think we can be very proud of our history. I looked it up. There's been 150 wage increases over those 55 years, almost 3 wage increases a year. If you just compare that to what federal employees in other agencies who don't have collective bargaining, there's no comparison.
NALC members can take great pride in our union's record of success in bargaining since the 1970 postal strike, preserving cost of living adjustments, limiting non-union outsourcing, securing upgrades, and raising city carrier pay. But there is still work to be done. The challenges facing letter carriers continue to evolve, and the NALC's commitment to protect the future of our craft remains as strong as ever.
Leading up to this round of bargaining, our preparation was bigger, frankly, than it's ever been in the past. That was intentional. We incorporated some things that we've done in recent years, the way we use our council members, but we've also wanted our members to have the opportunity to provide input.
Through a variety of new methods, city carriers from across the country have shared ideas, raised concerns, and helped ensure our bargaining agenda reflects the realities of the workroom floor. The feedback gathered from members, along with the official bargaining positions passed by NALC convention delegates, became the foundation for the proposals our bargaining teams presented directly to the Postal Service during negotiations.
The preparation that we did this time, the involvement of our members, whether that's through a survey that they participated in or polling that we've done or events we've held like the National Rap Session, everything that we collected through the rank and file committees, through the surveys, to the things that I hear from attending different meetings around the country and what's communicated to me by our council members and branch presidents. I don't have any question that as the process continues to play out, that preparation and our members' involvement has been very valuable.
As with every round of bargaining, our preparations began well ahead of the start of the official bargaining period. In September of 2025, the Executive Council met at NALC headquarters to begin preparation, appointing 6 internal bargaining subcommittees composed of Executive Council members and headquarters staff. These subcommittees began by reviewing official bargaining positions adopted by NALC conventions, other union contracts, and communications from NALC members in order to develop proposals for submission in the bargaining process. They continued to meet weekly. In November 2025, more than 1,000 NALC branch and state leaders from across the country gathered in Cleveland, Ohio for NALC's 2025 National Conference to discuss collective bargaining preparations and goals.
I think there are also thousands of conversations that take place between attendees and interactions that we can have directly, not just in that structured setting in a classroom or in a rap session, but also just the natural conversations that happen lead to a more productive event.
In September 2025 and January 2026, NALC convened 2 of their first-of-kind rank-and-file bargaining committees. The committees developed their own ideas, which were incorporated into the proposals that the Executive Council bargaining subcommittees passed to the Postal Service during negotiations. 3 days before the opening of negotiations, more than 100 branches from coast to coast held local Fight Like Hell rallies calling for a fair contract. In sun, snow, and rain, letter carriers and supporters across the country showed up to fight for what we deserve.
We come here this morning with a singular goal, and that is to reach a contract that fairly compensates, recognizes, and values America's 200,000 active city letter carriers. We know what we deserve. We know the value of the work that we do, and we are hopeful that through this process, we are able to reach an agreement that achieves our goals. Time and time again, we've proved that we can adapt. Whether it was natural disasters, global pandemics, record-breaking temperatures, and everything in between, we take pride in continuing to serve the American people. And it's only right and it's only fair that that commitment is rewarded with a fair contract that's been earned through the dedication and hard work of America's labor.
At the end of the video, you saw a recognition of the loss of our longtime video producer, Ann Sutherland. NALC has, for many years, employed a lot of very talented professionals, many of which that have long, in some cases decades-long, relationships with us. And Ann is one that has worked with us to create and produce videos for decades. In fact, many of you in this room have attended many national conventions over the years, and the videos that we have aired throughout those conventions for decades were largely produced by Ann. So we remember the loss of our longtime producer, Ann Sutherland. Because we just finished a video about the history and our recent preparation on collective bargaining, it's an appropriate time for me to remember another great professional that our union lost in the last year. Bruce Simon, who served as NALC's general counsel from 1979 to 2020, passed away in January at the age of 92. Bruce was a giant in the world of labor lawyers. After graduating from Harvard University Law School in 1959, he helped turn a two-partner New York firm into the firm Cohen, Weiss & Simon, the nation's premier labor law practice with more than 30 law partners today, and longtime firm that's partnered with NALC for all sorts of representational and union governance legal assistance. Bruce was a vital source of advice on bargaining, legislative strategy, and litigation for three presidents: President Sombrado, President Young, and President Rolando. He served as NALC's designated arbitrator in 6 interest arbitrations. He loved letter carriers and was a fixture at NALC Executive Council members and national conventions like the one we have convened this week for decades. He was beloved by the officers and staff of our great union, and Bruce will long be remembered by all of us who had the privilege of knowing and collaborating with him on behalf of America's letter carriers and all its working families. We are certainly grateful for both Ann Sutherland and Bruce Simon and their longtime contributions to the work that our union has done for letter carriers, and we honor their memory. May they rest in peace. Oftentimes, when I introduce speakers at the National Convention, there are lengthy introductions. Those introductions are primarily created to give us all some information about the speaker and certainly to welcome them to our convention. Our next speaker, however, is someone who does not need any introduction to this crowd. We are very fortunate to have President Emeritus Fred Rolando with us here in Los Angeles. Brother Rolando began his work as a letter carrier in 1978 and really has been working for letter carriers ever since. You all know his history. More recently, he's been enjoying his retirement, of course, but also has been there for anything that letter carriers in our union needed, just like he has been going all the way back to 1978. So I ask you all to please join me and give a warm welcome to President Emeritus Fred Rolando.
Good afternoon. Well, first of all, Brian, where are you? I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to take a little bit of time and say hello to everybody. I did tell Brian I would be a little nervous getting up in front of this many people, but also, based on some of the things Brian said this morning, Brian, I want to just thank you for your years of service at headquarters and as an executive assistant, as a director of city delivery, as the executive vice president, and for the last almost 4 years, one of the most difficult jobs in the NALC as president of the NALC. Please get up off your asses and help me thank Brian Renfro for all his service to the union. Thank you, Brian. Not an easy job. Not an easy job. So anyway, I'm really happy to be here. I've been really looking forward to seeing all my mostly old, and new friends here at NALC. I really miss y'all. I think I've told you in the past as I've chaired different conventions that one of my favorite times is Monday morning. You know, getting up here about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and just watching everybody come in, and then finding each other, and all the hugs and then the hellos of not seeing each other for 2 years. That's just really amazing to me to watch. So I really enjoyed watching that this morning, as I'm sure you did as well. During my 21 years working at headquarters, and especially the 13 and a half years that I spent as your national president, I'd get to see most of you during the year at various branch meetings, branch events, trainings, state conventions, regional rap sessions, national rap sessions, conventions, and those days are gone, thank God. So I really seriously value the opportunity now when I get to see all of you every 2 years at our national convention. So to me, this is absolutely wonderful. There's many of you that I've never met, and that's good news. Not for that reason, but I mean, it's just great to see such a growing number of NALC activists. How many of you are here attending for your first time at a national convention? I can't tell. We're going to need like a division. Could you stand up if this is your first convention? Yeah. Wow. Wow. That is good news. So anyway, I want to thank all of you, especially the new people, for making that decision to get involved and to become a voice here at the National Convention, which is the supreme body of the NALC. So thank you for being here. So enough about you. Let's talk about me. I've been retired from NALC for almost 4 years. I'm getting really good at it. I really enjoy the time that I'm spending with my family, my close friends, especially my children, my grandchildren. And I spend a little bit of time working as a standing committee member and trustee at NALC, which I really enjoy doing, and hopefully the three of us on the standing committee, I understand maybe Thursday, we'll get an opportunity to report to the delegates later this week all about NALC, whether you want to know about it or not. See that? See that? Speaking of which, So yes, back to you. As you heard from Brian this morning in great detail, we as a union have a number of challenges facing us that involve, among others, the Congress, the administration, the Postal Service, our competitors, the mailers, regarding all kinds of things like collective bargaining, legislation, safety of our members, our benefits, Postal Service leadership and structure, or lack of both, customer service, the attacks on our members. You heard all about it. But what I want to talk to you for the next couple hours is that challenges are not new to the NALC, right? As always, if we stay strong and we stay unified, we will prevail. You know that, right? Okay. But one of our challenges should not be each other. You get that? I've seen a lot of division with the NALC in the last couple of years. And you want to know what I think? A few of you do, right? I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I don't mean that I don't like disagreements, because disagreements are healthy. And resolving those disagreements, they make us stronger. They always have throughout our history. Disagreeing is good. But one of the ways that we resolve disagreements that involve, say leadership roles is through what? Through elections, right? Okay, at the branch level, the state level, at the regional level, at the national level. And this week, we're going to have nominations for our elected national and regional positions. And later this year, we're going to have an election where our members are going to have the opportunity to voice their support and/or by secret ballot choose who they would like to fill those positions, as they should, without being judged, right? Now, isn't that great that we can do that? But what's even more important than that is your support, our support, for those that the members elect, whether you voted for them or not, or as a candidate, whether you won or whether you lost. That's worth repeating. I'm going to say it again. What's more important is your support for those who the members elect, whether you voted for them or not, or if you're a candidate, whether you won or lost. Yes? That's worth repeating. But I won't. But anyway, that support is what unionism is all about. When the election is over, the results are in, real unionism is the ability to unify and to face the many challenges that we have together. Unionism and representation of our members is not about egos, it's not about retaliation, it's not about revenge, it's not about sour grapes. blame, anger, threats. Unionism is about respecting the decisions of the membership and about unification. Respecting the decisions of the membership and about unification of our people, all of our people, and of our resources, all of our resources, so that we move forward together for the benefit of each and every member. I can't stress enough how important that is. Again, you wanted to know what I thought. So I just hope that we can do that moving forward. Can we? I mean, really, can we do that? Hell yeah. LA hat, what the hell's that mean? Now wait a minute. As you know, for the last 14 years, well, almost 14 years, the official team of the NALC has been the New York Yankees. You remember that. I think the ayes have it. Yeah. And I cannot remember any statement by our new president or any resolution that changed that. So enough with the LA hat stuff. Okay. So anyway, let's have a great convention. Let's work hard. Let's learn a lot. Let's stay safe. Let's have fun. And remember, as long as each and every one of us is all about the members of our union, we are on the same page and on the same side. It's great seeing everybody. Thank you. I love you to death. Take care, and thank you for the time.
Fred led a lot of letter carrier cheers. To my knowledge, he's only been given like maybe two? Three. Well, let's give him a fourth one. Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Thank you, Fred.
Thank you. Well, don't I get one of those gifts? No, we don't get that. What's that?
Okay, now I'd like to call up the chair of the Committee on the President's Report from Branch 860 in Honolulu, Alvin Matsumura. Aloha.
A lot of people today. Anyway, joining me up here on this stage, joining me in this committee, I have Andy Tuttle from Branch 104 in Lawrence, Kansas. Also, I have Sylvan Stewart from Branch 545. Oh, Stevens. What the f? Stevens from Branch 545 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Followed by Brian Dorr from Branch 491 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And last but not least, Louise Jordan from Branch 421, San Antonio, Texas. The Committee of Presidents report has carefully read and reviewed the report of President Brian Renfro to the 74th Biennial Convention of the National Association of Letter Carriers. The report encompasses the major activities of our union, since the 73rd Biennial Convention in Boston, Massachusetts. In addition to outlining the union's activities, the report explains the large economic, political, and legislative context in which the union had to operate. The report provides a comprehensive discussion of the following critical subjects.
Andy Tuttle, Branch 104, Lawrence, Kansas. First, the report outlines the origins and activities of the NALC's Fight Like Hell campaign. The report explains the union launched the campaign in February 2025, highlighting our fights for a fair contract, against privatization, protecting our health care and retirement benefits, and safety on the job. Little did we know, only a week later, a threat would be at our doorsteps, as the Washington Post published reports that President Trump was preparing to sign an executive order dismantling the post office and placing it under control of the cabinet in the Commerce Department. NALC activated immediately with digital actions and in-person protests, vehemently voicing our rejection of this plan, and we successfully fought off the implementation of the plan. However, it is clear, as outlined through the rest of the report, that threats from the Trump administration have impacted nearly every other aspect of the union in the last 2 years.
Good afternoon, body. Sylvan Stevens, President, Branch 545, Charlotte, North Carolina. Second, the report explains the union's collective bargaining efforts through 2 rounds of negotiations. In the 2023 to 2026 round, the union reached tentative agreement, which was rejected in the ratification vote, leading to impasse and interest arbitration proceedings, also impacting by actions of the Trump administration. The interest arbitration award resulted in the largest annual general wage increases since 2006 and other improvements. In the current round of negotiations, the report outlines the union's efforts to increase transparency in the collective bargaining process, including rank and file bargaining committees, a survey open to all active members, and a collective bargaining conference. The report notes that we have faced some of the most difficult bargaining circumstances in our union's history. With parcel volume down, the economy in flux, and continued deterioration of the Postal Service's finances, despite these challenges, that hasn't changed our goals, what we fight for, and what our members want and deserve.
Hello, Brian Dorr, Branch 491, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Third, the report enumerates the union's legislative wins and battles. 2 major wins were the passage of the Social Security Fairness Act, which repealed the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset that unfairly reduced or eliminated benefits for retirees after decades of fighting, and the remarkable feat of getting through the congressional budget reconciliation process unscathed. The report notes that the NALC's strong bipartisan strategy on Capitol Hill has been extremely successful in protecting letter carriers from attacks in recent years. The report also discusses threats that may be coming our way and warns members about significant changes to universal service obligations and postal services that impacted postal employees worldwide. Other topics of the report include the expansion of the NALC Emergency Response Team, efforts to fight for a national heat safety standard, new education initiatives like the NALC University, the annual Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive, and the NALC's alliance with the AFL-CIO and the UNI Global Union.
Good afternoon. Luis Jordan, San Antonio, Texas, Branch 421. The report covers the actions of the Executive Council since the last convention. The report describes the work of the various NALC staff departments, including workers' compensation, legislation and political affairs, the Information Center, and the Research and Education and Communications departments. The report includes detailed accounts of all litigation for the preceding 2 years and national-level arbitration decisions. The report also contains presidential rulings on the questions of law and constitutional interpretation issued since the last convention by President Renfro. We have carefully reviewed these rulings and recommend their approval. The members of this committee have unanimously concluded that the President's report conforms to the requirements of the Constitution of the NALC. The committee recommends that the delegates approve and adopt the report, including the President's rulings on law and constitutional interpretation and the supplemental reports. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to the committee. At this time, the committee has recommended that the delegates approve and adopt the report, including the presidential rulings on law and constitutional interpretation and the supplemental reports. So we would entertain a motion to approve the report per the committee's recommendation. Microphone number 7 under privilege.
Eric Grigorovic, Arizona State Association. I move to accept the report.
Thank you, brother. Is there a second to the motion? Microphone number 7 under privilege.
Eric Bew, Branch 458, Oklahoma City. I second the motion.
Thank you, brother. The motion is to accept the committee's recommendation to approve and adopt the report. Is there any discussion? Seeing no one at a mic. Is there any objection to proceeding to the question? Okay. The motion is to accept the committee's recommendation to approve and adopt the report. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Thank you very much once again to the committee. Microphone number 8 under privilege.
Brother Renfro, I stand before you and the delegates at this national convention under privilege. My name is Brian Thompson. I'm National Business Agent, Region 12. To request that we take a few minutes away from normal business at this convention for a special proposal I received from Branch 157 member, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Philip DiGiulio, and his significant other, Julie, so they may have a few minutes in front of the delegates. Brother Renfro, do you think we could spare them a few minutes?
I guess that depends on what they're going to do. But if what I suspect they're going to do is what they're going to do, absolutely, I believe we can spare a few minutes.
I think it's safe to say you have a safe assumption. So. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank my MBA, Brian Thompson, salt of the earth gentleman, talked me off a ledge so many times. Good man. Also, President Brian Renfro, we owe you a debt of gratitude for the sacrifice you made for each and every one of us. I'm not blowing smoke. Best president of my tenure. Let's give it up for Brian.
Thank you, brother. You might want to turn your attention to your left, though.
One more thing, President Renfro. Your father was an NALC member, hell of a mailman. I don't need to tell you, but he is proud of you right now.
Thank you, brother.
Now, I'm not here for a resolution. I'm not here for a motion or even a nomination but rather I am here for a proposal. Best 3+ years of my life was with this young lady, Julie Casper, out of New Jersey, also Region 12. Let me get into my bag of hope right here, my bag of love. I want to thank, out of Manhattan, Tiffany & Co., a young lady by the name of Kerry.
All right.
And I also want to thank, from right here in Los Angeles, Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, 90102, a gentleman by the name of Gerard Gravinger. They're watching right now. I don't have a lot more time, but I have a little song. I'll sing a few bars of it. Plagiarized from Dr. Taylor Swift. They want that $30 starting wage. They want elimination of the CCAs and the rights to strike, locality pay. They want it all. All my life I've wished upon the stars and God in heaven for a best friend that I think is hot. And Julie Casper, I just want to hang out with you for my whole life. I just want you.
Put it on. You're supposed to put it on. Put on my finger. There you go. It doesn't work. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Congratulations, Phil and Julie. Wonderful. Wonderful. A reminder, you heard Brother Weiner earlier talk about the forms for the election of AFL-CIO delegates. As we are going to adjourn the general session here in a few minutes, to offer you a reminder to please bring them up to the side of the stage, the desk over by, to my right, your left, by the end of today's session. Microphone number 9, under privilege.
President Renfro, if you, Tony Vaughn, Branch 176, Baltimore. If the body just give me a few minutes, another few seconds, assemble the Oriole Branch 176 delegation. Is Karen? Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, President Renfro. Again, as I said, Tony Vaughn, Branch 176. I stand here with the Vice President of the Maryland, D.C. State Association, Karen Nance, and Vice President of the Oriole Branch, Ivan Hurwitz, and the officers and the delegates from Branch 176. And along with President Emeritus Mike Smith. We want to let the body know we are here with hardened hearts. And what I mean that is we are in mourning for our sister and our brother back in Baltimore. This past Tuesday, retiree brother Purcell Carter was in a serious, tragic accident, sustained severe internal and external injuries on Tuesday. Brother Carter, we found out yesterday, succumbed to those injuries. Brother Carter was, I believe, a 35-year member of Oriole Branch. And I have to mention that his wife, Sister Doreen Carter, who's the Executive Vice President of Oriole Branch and the President of the Maryland, D.C. State Association, that was her husband. She had every intention, of course, coming here before last week, but of course, she's where we would all like to be right now in Baltimore, back there, consoling, being there with her and her family. So we want to let the branch know, the delegates who have come up to us nationally, regionally, state, we appreciate it. We're going to relay that all to Sister Carter because their hearts are heavy. And as it may feel like, well, we really don't want to be here right now, we don't say that out of sarcasm. Our bodies are here, but our hearts are with our sister, Sister Doreen Carter, in the mourning of her husband, Brother Purcell Carter, Jr. And I wanted to, if the membership here could have a moment of silence for Brother Purcell Carter, Jr. and his family. Brother Chairman.
Yes, sir. We'll observe a moment of silence for the tragic loss of Brother Carter.
Thank you, President.
Brother Vaughn.
We also, if at some point, Chairman Renfro, at some point during the next few days, if it could be a possible passing of the hat to assist the family during this time of need, if that could be possibly done at your will, President Renfro.
Yes, thank you, Brother Vaughn. I would say either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, if you would come up to the side of the stage and speak to Sister Ryan about the details of that. And of course, we would inform the convention as we have a rule that covers that scenario. Thank you, brother. And
Thank you, members.
Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone, of course, with Sister Doreen, but with everyone at Branch 176.
Thank you, President Renfro, and thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, for time constraints, we have 2 at mics. We're going to hit those 2 mics, and we have a couple of awards to present so we can get out of here close to on time. Microphone number 3, I believe you were first. However, it appears that according to your signal, you have risen. Well, you were previously against.
I'm not sure.
Okay, keep turning. No, other way. Do you have a question? Privilege, there we go.
Oh, it's
Microphone number 3 under privilege.
Tanya Fleming, Branch 348. Clarification. You said by the end of business today. Is that for rule number 20?
We'll get the answer to that question.
Delegates may cast their vote either individually or under unit rule in conformity with Article 4 and through the Office of the National Secretary Treasury prior to close of business on Tuesday. But he's saying you need to get it in by today, into business today?
Sister, that's a matter for Chairman Weiner. We'll get the answer to that question and inform the delegates here before we adjourn for the day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Microphone number 5 under privilege.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. My name is David Hyman from Branch 290, Tri-Valley Branch 2902, home of the Los Angeles Rams training camp. When we met here last time in 2016 or whatever year it was, on the agenda was later on in the week. I'm sure you folks have noticed we have a lot of unhoused people in the area, and what we did at the last convention here at the convention center was later on in the week we had boxes in the lobbies for people to bring their unused soaps and shampoos so they can be donated to veterans or unhoused people that live in the area. And I'd like to see that again if it's not already in the agenda or the plan for this particular convention. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. We will report back on what may or may not be planned. If nothing is planned, we absolutely will put something together. Thank you, brother. Okay, last thing for today in the general session. It's our pleasure to have the opportunity to present awards to our branches for their excellence in branch publications. Effective branch communications are key to a successful branch and, in turn, a successful NALC. Fortunately, there are more ways than ever to reach our members, whether it's through print, publications, websites, social media. We can meet our members where they are, and that's exactly what our branches are doing. Knowledge is power, and our union is stronger when letter carriers are informed about workplace issues, informed about our legislative priorities, and all the latest updates from their branch. Every January in a convention year, the Postal Record invites the editors of branch and state association newsletters, newspapers, websites to submit entries to the competition for outstanding periodicals, publications, or websites. All entries must have been created by NALC members. They must have been published in a branch or state association newsletter or website in the 2 years prior to this convention. We then recruit a panel of publication experts who determine the award winners in each category. The second and third place winners of this year's publication awards will be presented tomorrow afternoon at the Effective Branch Communications Workshop. But this afternoon, we're pleased to announce the first place award winners and invite them to the stage. The first category is overall excellence for large branches. First place goes to Boston, Massachusetts, Branch 34, and their newsletter, Clan. Next is overall excellence for small branches. And in first place, Branch 849, Fort Collins, Colorado. Next is the best news or feature article. And first place goes to Duluth, Minnesota, Branch 114. Their newsletter, the Zenith Branch News. The award is for an article titled Right Person, Right Place, Right Time by Linda Johnston. Next is the award for best editorial or column promoting unionism. Portland Branch 82's longtime awesome newsletter, Be Mike. The title is Delivering a Unified Message by Branch President David Norton. All right, next is best editorial or column. The New Hampshire State Association every year produces one of the most impressive convention books you've ever seen, and this award goes to Scott Weber for Fight Like Hell. Next is Best Cartoon or Photo. The first place goes to St. Louis Branch 343, the Mound City Carrier, for a photo by Tom Schulte. No worries there. And our last award is for Best Website. The winner is Massachusetts Northeast Merge, Branch 25. Back to the sister that raised the question a few minutes ago regarding the AFL-CIO convention, election. Brother Weiner, I believe, might have jumped the gun a little bit. Sister, you are correct. They must be turned in to the desk by the end of business tomorrow. Thank you for bringing that up. Microphone number 8, you are lit up and you are spinning.
Yeah, my name is Lino Miranda, branch 1071,
Brother,
Miami, Florida.
Brother, do you rise under information?
Yes, of course.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
I want to make sure that we schedule Louis Knowles, or that he is scheduled for his appeal for the 10th. I didn't hear his name. I was hearing Rivera petition for Tuesday. I want to make sure that Louis Knowles is also on the schedule for Tuesday.
Brother, there are, I believe, 2 appeals that are scheduled for Friday through the Committee of Appeals. Now, there are no further appeals currently scheduled. There has been a request for an appeal that I believe you might be referencing. That request just came in very recently, and we will respond to that request, just as I would any other appeal that has been sent in. But that appeal is not before the convention at this time.
Before the convention ends, we're going to hear a response?
I will respond to the member that sent the appeal. Yes, that matter has not been brought before the convention. I believe at first we would need to respond to the member.
So you're going to respond to the request for the appeal that should be taking place this week?
Brother, I'm going to respond to the member just as I do thousands of them every single year. If the matter
so he's not scheduled. The answer is he's not scheduled for an appeal this week.
I think I was very clear that there is no, the only appeals scheduled are appeals to the Committee of Appeals, and I do not believe we have one from a member by that name.
You do have one by a member by that name.
No, we do not have one scheduled for the...
But you did receive one, though, at least, yes?
I have received many of them, yes, and each of them I will respond to just as we respond to any other.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Microphone number 1, underprivileged.
Thank you. Mike Rivera, Branch 70, San Diego. Whereas Article 21 of the National Constitution requires that the constitutional amendments are the first order of business on Tuesday, I make a motion for my appeal of the Executive Council's decision to be heard immediately following the conclusion of constitutional amendments.
Okay, brother. First, I'm not going to immediately rule your motion out of order. I will, however, tell you that if you look directly in the very next paragraph in Article 21, there's a reference to retiree resolutions. So that would, of course, constitutionally, absent an amendment to the Constitution, come after the constitutional amendments. However, as we discussed when you were here on the stage, because this has been changed in the rules now that was adopted, we will schedule any appeals of decisions of the Executive Council immediately concluding the constitutionally required business that must begin tomorrow and continue until it is completed. So I don't believe your motion is necessary to achieve what you are asking to achieve.
Well, the problem is that it needs to be on docket here, and it says here that all proposed constitutional changes have been, no other business shall be brought upon before the delegates until all proposed constitutional changes have been voted upon by the delegates who shall be in executive session. When you're referring to the retiree resolutions, that's on the third day of convention.
Correct, brothers, and it's very possible that because we have 41 constitutional amendments, that the amendment process could go very late into Tuesday or perhaps even into Wednesday morning. Therefore, the rule reads now that they will be done on Tuesday. So we will do them on Tuesday unless we are precluded from doing any appeals that we receive on Tuesday due to the fact that the Constitution prohibits us from doing any other business until we've concluded the amendment process.
So if the amendment process continues on to Wednesday, right? If it continues on to Wednesday, then by theory, then I can still appeal after the amendments are done.
That's correct, brother.
Okay.
Any appeal we will hear it as soon on Tuesday, unless we are precluded by the Constitution from doing it, and that would be by virtue of us having to finish the amendments. We are going to deal with any appeal per the rule.
Right, but it also says here on Tuesday, amendments are scheduled for that. So if we are going to give the grace of continuing on Wednesday for amendments, we should also give the grace of allowing the appeals to be heard on Wednesday if time constraints exist. Does that?
Brother Rivera, I don't know how to say this any clearer.
Okay.
When we finish what we are constitutionally obligated to do business-wise on Tuesday, because of Rule 21 now, after it's been amended reading, that appeals of decisions of the Executive Council be heard on Tuesday, that would be the next order of business. If we are not able tomorrow to finish all of the amendments, and that continues into Wednesday, whenever we finish the amendments, that would be the next order of business, unless we had retiree resolutions, of which there would be very few if we did, and would be constitutionally required to do those. So when we finish amendments, that will be the next order of business, is any appeals we have of decisions of the Executive Council. That's what our rules require.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Okay, we are, it's 3:15 now, so I know everybody's ready to go. You're very excited about classes, you should be. We got awesome workshops. So we will start them 15 minutes later, which means they will end 15 minutes later. That will not cause any issues with bus schedules or anything like that. So we will adjourn until tomorrow morning. Workshops, transportation, everything this afternoon is just simply backed up by 15 minutes. Enjoy the workshops, have a great evening, and we will convene here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you, brothers and sisters.